Okay, I think we're live.
Okay.
All right, we're all set. All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining me, Brett and Bryan, the moderators of the Readers Professional Development Book Club. My name is Jamie Chavez. I'm the president and CEO for the Westminster Chamber. And we've been doing this book club, gosh, I don't know, how many months now? 5 or 6?
Something like that, yeah.
Like, what, August or September?
Yeah.
I think August was our first one, yeah.
Yeah. So we're picking up some steam. Our group is growing. We have new members every time, so we're really pleased about that. And we are here today to chat about our next book, which is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And good morning, Dave. Thanks for joining us. And so yeah, we'll get going. As I mentioned, Brett Popish with Prosper Mortgage. Did I say that right? It's Monday. And Bryan Head with Bryan Head Consulting, moderators for the book club. So they're here to tell us all about why we chose this book this month. So I will let you guys take over. Why Atomic Habits for March?
Yeah, I can kick it off. I think this is kind of continuing a trend. We started with, we've kind of gone through several books, professional development, personal development. We looked at personality types. We looked at strengths and developing your strengths. We just finished The One Thing, which was really about focusing on the one thing in your business or in your life that makes you successful. And then the reason that we landed on Atomic Habits is I think Brett and I have both read this one previously, and it really focuses on the small incremental changes. I think a lot of times when we get revved up about a personal or professional change we want to make, we start with the end in mind, and then it can kind of get frustrating that we're not there immediately. And this book has some really good, practical ways to implement incremental changes that add up over the course of time. It's kind of like the old exercise that if you start with a penny and you double it every day, by the end of the year, you have a fortune and a huge pile of pennies. So that is kind of the concept of this book and why we landed on it as a follow-up to The One Thing. Brett, anything to add to that?
No, I think that's a great summary. Also, one of the reasons we came to the conclusion on the book too was there was quite a few people in the last meeting that had suggested it. And, one thing that we try to do is we want to make this a collaborative approach, and we don't want me and Bryan to be the ones dictating every month, hey, here's what you have to read. So we always want to make sure that we're, taking people's suggestions to heart. And this is a book that we've read. I think you've read it too, Jamie. But me and Bryan have read it. I'll be reading it the second time. And just like Bryan said, it's a great book, especially coming off The One Thing, because The One Thing talks about determining what your one thing is and expanding and working on that, where this Atomic Habits kind of complements that in a way of habit stacking, right? So we all do things every day. We're all trying to build a new skill every day or build a new discipline or habit. And I think the idea, and everybody has a different opinion on this, but, daily disciplines result in creating habits. Well, James Clear talks about habit stacking. And it's like, okay, once you've had enough discipline and you've created this habit, whatever that might be, that's kind of an automatic. And now you work on another habit to stack on top of that to move yourself forward. So there's a lot of good nuggets in this that I think would be a good complement to the last couple books that we've read.
Yeah. So again, as you guys have kind of mentioned, Atomic Habits focuses on small changes that lead to big results. Why do you think that this is such an important message for our members and for our community?
Well, I think that, there's the old adage of how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. And I think that by creating little tiny incremental changes in your daily life, in your daily business life, that sort of thing, it's going to compound and yield the biggest results, kind of like the 80-20 rule. But in The One Thing, they talk about the 80-20 and almost the 90-10 rule, that 90% of your success is done by about 10%. And I'm kind of generalizing here on the numbers, but by about 10% of your actions. And that other 90% is automatic things that you do every day, which is your habit stacking, your habit forming. So that's kind of, I think, the idea behind it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think one of the things that I really appreciate about this book club, and we talk about it every month on the broadcast, is that folks really play well off of each other during the discussion. But I think it's more than just a professional development mindset when people come to the meeting. And this is a book that, whether you apply it to your business or your physical health or your family or whatever it is that you want to accomplish, there's something that you can take away. And so we may be chatting about it initially in the context of what it looks like professionally, but people can take it and apply it in other areas of their lives, and it makes a huge difference. I was talking to Brian Dice, who's a chamber board member of the book club, and we all, as we started the book club last fall, pretty quick after that, we all did 75 hard together, the kind of the fitness plan, and he has continued on with a lot of the habits that he developed during that time. And now he's reached fitness goals that he's been shooting for years. And it took, just that incremental dedication to implementing these habits. And so I think when you start to see those kinds of things happen in people's lives, it gets really exciting. And so I think going through this book will be a challenge to all of us to identify areas that we can start implementing those kinds of changes.
Well, and on that same note, it's not always about professional either. It could be about health, could be about your family relationships. If you've got children, maybe you're trying to get your kids' grades up and you want to develop a habit of helping them with their schoolwork X amount of time per day, or, whatever the case may be. So, and again, talking about, to piggyback up on what you talked about the group when we get together, we've been purposeful in making it much more collaborative and getting people to open up and really talk about, hey, what did you get out of it? And I think the power of the book club is not so much of what we read, but what we learn, how other people interpret the content. You know what I mean? And that's been powerful to me, and it's been fun to see, because you and I and anybody in the book club can read the same exact book, but we're all going to get different things out of it. We're all going to pick up on things because our mind is ready to pick up on something, rather than just the context of the book. And I made a joke the last time. I think I've read the one thing 3 times, and I swear there was a chapter in there that was not in there the prior 2 times. Even though I read it, but it's that same idea that I wasn't really ready to hear it at that point, or it didn't resonate in my life the first couple times. And that's where the book club is fun, because somebody might say something, you're like, I didn't even pick up on that. And a light bulb goes off. Hey, I'm going to go back and read that chapter because I didn't pick up on that. So that's the cool thing about doing the book club, because again, we get the other perspective. Yeah.
One thing that you guys have just mentioned is something that I really apply from these books outside of the professional realm is with parenting with my kids. My kids are young, and so they're almost like little employees, right? Like they're full people. They're just young people. And so, you have to learn how to deal with them with respect and care, while also getting them to do what you want them to do. And so they're just like little employees. And so a lot of these things that we pull out of these books, I can apply to parenting. So I think that that's probably pretty universal. So just another cool thing about the book club.
Because I said so,
with kids, so far. Yeah. With kids, it's the same as employees or with yourself. Like, if you ask a child or an employee or something to make some radical change, that is very hard to get them to do. But if you ask them to make a very small incremental change, that's much easier. And over time, that adds up. One of the things, so this is the book right here, but right on the inside cover, it defines its own title. It says, atomic, an extremely small amount of a thing, the single irreplaceable or irreducible unit of a larger system, or the source of immense energy or power. And then habit, the definition is a routine or practice performed regularly, an automatic response to a specific situation. So I like that single irreducible part of a larger system, because what you'll realize as you read the book is if you take out these habits, the habits are irreplaceable when it comes to the end result of the larger goal. Without those habits, you're not going to get to that larger goal.
Yep.
Yeah. And so why do you think, what makes discussing a book like this in a group setting more valuable than just reading it alone?
I think Brett hit on it earlier, hearing how other people interpret things, or there's been books where a particular chapter just fell flat for me. It didn't register, and then you hear somebody else talk about it, and light bulb goes off, and you apply it in a different way to your life, or that kind of thing. And then I think just kind of the old adage, iron sharpens iron. I mean, you may read it and digest it and implement it, but having other people alongside you that are doing the same thing that you can bounce ideas off of, or keep accountable, or that kind of thing. It just helps to do life as a team, instead of just on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on top of that, just the support factor, right? I think for a lot of business owners, it can feel a little lonely. We're all out kind of on an island, if you will, in a lot of ways. We don't have an office to go to. We're not standing around the water cooler talking to other employees. We're all kind of doing our own little thing. And by getting together in a group setting like this, talking about successes, talking about failures, talking about things you want to improve on, it just, what you just said, Bryan, it's iron sharpens iron. And the reality is this is kind of a good support group for entrepreneurs as well. And we have that same goal in mind, in that we want to see people grow. We want to see people get value out of this and expand their business. And that's a good way to do it, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It's also a lot of fun. Sometimes professional development books are not the most, it's not a novel, it's not high drama or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can get monotonous, pushing your way through them. But when you are thinking about it in the context of, having a conversation about it in the future, that helps. And then when you sit down and you're able to discuss it with other people, we have a lot of fun. There's a lot of, laughter on top of some serious, developmental conversations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we realize we're not alone in the journey, right? We're all dealing with the same things. I mean, it's a different product we sell, but the reality is we're all probably dealing with the same overall thing. And just that support system, and knowing that you're not the only one going through whatever you're going through, or you're not the only one trying to develop in a certain area, can give people a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I bought the book to read, but the paper book, but I know a lot of people, I assume it's on Audible. So a lot of people that prefer to listen to the book, you can do it that way. So there's options there. You can listen to it while you're doing whatever else in your life. If you don't have time to sit down and read, you can still join us. We are meeting on, March 25th at 4:00 at Kokopelli, which is where we always have the book club. So we hope that we see some new people there, and we hope that everyone else returns. Anything else you guys want to add about the book, or encouraging people to join us?
What I would say for people that struggle with reading, if you want to read rather than do the audiobook, just commit yourself to 10 pages a day to start off with. I was never a reader. I hated reading. A couple of years ago, I got into reading only 10 pages a day, and you'd be astounded by how much you can get through, how fast you can get through a book just by doing a little bit every single day. I think people look at the size of this book and they might be a little intimidated, but when you really break it out over 10 pages a day, it's not that much. You can get through that book in about a month.
Yeah. And I suggest 10 pages in the morning, because when I try to do 10 pages when I'm laying in bed at night, I just fall asleep.
Yeah.
So it works better for me.
Much if you do that.
Yeah, I have done the physical copy, and then I've also done the audio. The audio is very good. And there's also, whether either one that you get, the audio or the physical book, there is on James Clear's website some companion PDFs that you can just go and download. One of them is specific to parenting. Jamie, you mentioned parenting, and then there's a couple others that they're pretty cool to go along with it if people want some additional content.
Awesome. Great.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you both again for joining me. Thanks everyone who tuned in and who's watching this later. And we hope to see you all on March 25th at the book club.
All right.
Have a good
Thanks,
week, everyone.
everybody.
Thanks. See you.